Hey, good morning. This is the Big JB. I'm showing you my shirt right now because this is one of my new shirts that I got from Threadless. Everybody asks where I get my shirts. Threadless.com is the place. I will include a link. I believe if you order through the link that I send you, that I actually get some kind of credit for it. So this one is called House Battle. It is a Harry Potter shirt. It has the Slytherin snake, Gryffindor lion, Hufflepuff badger, and the Ravenclaw eagle. And the lion and the snake are, of course, going at it while the others look on. So this is one of my new favorite shirts. I'm going to put the camera back on me and, yeah, lighten it. Whoa, way crazy. There we go. Oh, no. No. Come on. There we go. That's a little better. I'll scoot down. Everybody can see my face. Hey, this is real, man. Unedited. This is real. This is real. We've got something here. Do you feel it? That's a Steve Martin reference for those of you who are Steve Martin fans. I've not quite finished the video on Netflix called The People versus George Lucas. If you are a Star Wars fan but hate the prequels, as so many people do, I definitely encourage you to have a look at this video. It is not safe for kids. There are some F-bombs and some other references in it that are not appropriate for children. And, you know, one particular example that I felt was unnecessary, but, you know, still, they included it. So it's very good. I'm really enjoying it, partially because it it makes all the arguments that I have been making, and you know, it's a lot of fans who are talking about all the different things that George Lucas has done. It even includes some filmmakers, book authors, people who've done biographies. There are a couple points in it that I didn't even think of that really, really struck me. Francis Ford Coppola, who was one of George Lucas's early mentors, was sharing recently, I mean more recently than when he and George first started working together, that George Lucas was so successful with Star Wars that he never made anything else except for Star Wars. You know, of course, he was involved with, I think, The Labyrinth and Indiana Jones. And so there were other things that he did, but essentially he's known for Star Wars, and that there was never an opportunity for him to go on and make any other kind of film, that the world was sort of deprived of the other films that he would make. Which was an interesting argument, but based on the stuff that I have seen him make, certainly later in life, I feel like that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's very interesting information in the video. For example, did you know that in the 90s there was a filmmaker who took an issue to Congress? Ted Turner, in the mid to late 80s, wanted to colorize black and white films. And essentially that's the way that they would be. It would effectively alter, I believe it would effectively alter the negative, or at least alter the public record of them, and the black and white would be lost. And this filmmaker took up this crusade against this idea, saying that to remove the black and white films from our cultural history should not be allowed to happen, that altering those original movies would reduce our cultural history. And that filmmaker was George Lucas, 1988. There's an interesting quote from him in the movie about that very thing. And his staunch refusal to release the original movies, the original films, as he put it, on DVD in a decent quality, not the plain old widescreen edition that you can get on one of the DVD sets, it boggles the mind. The highest quality edition that you can get of the original trilogy is the Laserdisc version. I mean, and who has a Laserdisc player? I'm sure that some people who are Star Wars fans have one just so they can have that. It just seems so odd. It seems that it's just such a slap in the face of the fans, and you know they get into the whole argument of whether or not a piece like Star Wars, which has become so ingrained into our cultural history, and is even in the National Registry of Film, or in the National Film Registry, I think is how you say it. Those things are so ingrained in our culture that it sort of becomes property of the entire culture of the U.S. So it's very interesting. And then there's of course the whole argument over whether or not an artist has a right to his material and to alter it however he sees fit, which is kind of odd. I mean, if you compare it to any other kind of art form, like if Leonardo da Vinci later in life decided that the Mona Lisa was it really wasn't the way that his original vision was for the piece, and he went back and altered it so that she had a big smile and that she was much more attractive. And so then he went back and corrected the film, not the film, but the picture. See where I'm going with that? People would have been outraged, or if it was his, I don't know. I don't, I don't know if there's another, decent comparison for the Da Vinci, but to put it in terms of a worship song, even if it's a hymn, but we sing in church all the time. We have contemporary worship, and if you've been singing a worship song for years, and then all of a sudden the artist goes back and says, this song really didn't, it really didn't capture all of my vision for the song, and they rewrote it, and it fundamentally changed the meaning of the song, churches would not probably sing the new version unless it was a significant improvement. Churches would, just keep playing the original. So in those ways, once it kind of becomes public domain or public ownership, and it's, I think, to not acknowledge that and to not provide something that the fans truly want and just to stick, it's just unmovable on his insistence that the editions that he keeps changing are the versions that he intended, and I don't buy it at all. And I'll tell you what I think, and I have maintained this for a long time. If you start watching some of the special material for The Phantom Menace, the original, with the original release, there's a lot of Rick McCallum who is featured, who is, I believe, the executive producer. And first of all, I think that Rick McCallum is completely slimy. Second of all, I think that Rick McCallum is partially to blame. Somebody that George Lucas trusted and liked needed to have said, George, this is crap. You can't make this. You shouldn't make this. Somebody that he trusted, that was an advisor or a friend or something, needed to have said, you need to make some changes here. Rick McCallum, as far as I'm concerned, has towed the company line and is a true marketer in the sense that he wants to have everybody believe and everybody on board that these things are really fantastic, that we did an excellent job, that all the people who are who criticize the films are just being petty, and I completely disagree. But if you watch his stuff and you watch the way that he interacts with the crowd and the way that he talks and just kind of the defensive position that he takes, honestly, my opinion is that it's like Wormwood and King Theoden. That Wormwood and his very presence corrupted King Theoden. Of course, it was being Wormwood was being manipulated, but that not Wormwood, Wormtongue. There's another Freudian slip. But that Grima Wormtongue was corrupting the king and was sitting there whispering things in his ear that were lies, and that's very much the way that I view those things. If you get rid of Rick McCallum and put in somebody who can actually be a benefit to George Lucas, then it may have been different. So that's my opinion. There's I still maintain that the prequels, with a few changes, could have been a lot better, and I think everybody has done that. So maybe one day I will share my opinion on, or I wrote a whole bunch of stuff for a Star Wars RPG that I was going to run about, and it was going to be set in the prequel time frame, about what would have changed, what I would change to make the universe much more palatable than what actually happened. So I know this went a little bit long today, but obviously something I'm pretty passionate about. I've loved Star Wars since I was a kid. My parents took me to see it in the theater. That's how old I am. When I was 3 years old, I remember being in the theater and falling asleep, or trying to fall asleep during the trench run at the end of Star Wars, and thinking to myself, I just wish they would turn it down. So I saw all of the original trilogy in the theater, and that was formative for me. So yeah, I think it's clearly the fan base is passionate about this. and any of the fan base that is passionate about the prequel movies is, I'll try to not be too offensive, they're dumb. That's it for me today. This has been The Big JB. You can find me on Twitter at Voice of the Big JB. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the video. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Bye.